Hello, students. Today I am with you for a very special purpose, and the purpose is that I would like to read the story photographs before you. The purpose of reading is also to make you aware of the intricacies and the delicacies and the finesse of writer. How nicely she tries to interweave the emotions into words. The words and emotions, they are a good example of picturesque description of human emotions, especially, I would say, with the eye of a woman. Before I begin, I would like to tell you something about Shama Fateholi. She was a writer who was born in 1952 in Mumbai, and she got her education from the reputed universities of Mumbai and Leeds in the UK. She taught English for some time in Mumbai and Ahmedabad, and later on, in her later part of her life, she shifted to Delhi, where she spent her rest of the life. Although she had the inclination for Western drama, but the translations of Urdu and English, Hindi poetry, and especially I would like to make a mention that translation of Meera's bhajans are very popular form of writing which was done by her. So we can understand that gaining lot of experience from different sources, the love for humanity, the love for human beings, the passion for Indian culture, all these things definitely they make her a very big writer. She was a well known personality as a reviewer of great honesty and sensibility before she became a writer. Her best known novels are Tara Lane and Reaching Bombay Central. She often addresses political issues also, but all her articles they speak of abiding values and things that really matters in our life. Whatever experience she gained from her life, she wanted to impart it to society to make them aware of certain issues. She brings into limelight the issues which are to be taken into consideration. Now, let us talk about the story. The story photograph has really impressed me as a person, and therefore, I would like to read the story before you. This story photograph it depicts the domestic setting of the privileged classes of India. Shama Fateh Ali, she died of cancer in 2004. So let us talk about this story and peep into the landscape where she is talking about the high class society, the privileged class society, and also where privileged class people they mourn, they think of their old past days which are never to come to them. The story begins, I'm reading, half brown, half leukoderma pink, her fingers scrambled and pulled at the edge of this paper. The two thick black sheets refused to part. Revengefully, during the years when they lay on the bare floor of the cupboard, they had secreted from themselves dark, thick runnels of photograph gum. And now they clung obstinately edge to edge. The opening lines are very symbolic. The character, the main character in the story, which is, as we have understood, she is taking a look at the photographs. And those photographs are, they are glued to black paper. She's trying to pull at the edge of the paper and she's trying to take out those photographs out of the paper. Now, this taking out of the paper is not a simple description. It tells about the impressions on our brain which we try to pull it out. But sometimes the impressions are so obstinate, as in her words, they clung obstinately edge to edge. That is, there are lifetime experiences which we cherish sometimes, which we try to, sometimes we try to remove also, but since they are so deeply attached to our brain, to our memory, down the memory lane, that it is very difficult for us to take out or to remove or to scratch. She is trying to take out the precious photographs, and down the memory lane, these photographs, they are her memories. These photographs are not actual photographs, but they are lifetime experience which she is trying to pull from the gully of memory lane. She's trying to take out the photographs out of black paper, and her fingers began to press jerkily all over the paper, trying to find the spot where the two pages had separated. Now, these photographs, which were glued on black paper, and sometimes because of the glue, they are so closely knit to each other that it is very difficult for her to make them apart. Now, drifting apart, this action also is significant in itself. We are not actually drifting apart, we are trying to drift apart those memories which have which have been overpowering our mind and which have been disturbing. Now, why this disturbance and why this tormentation? Because she is at the moment, she can't enjoy those blissful days which she had enjoyed in her life. I read, beside her on the thick bedspread lay 3 or 4 albums in thick maroon covers, their pages held by ancient thread. 2 days ago, she had taken one out without hope, and slowly, incredulously, she had become like one possessed. She found herself going to the photographs as to a love letter. When she got out of bed at 6 in the morning and again at 4 in the afternoon, she reached mechanically for the albums on the bureau. When not looking at the pictures, she was rocking her chair or walking to the window, overexcited. It went on until the last strained efforts to see under the weak bulb at night. The setting of the room is also very gloomy. We can imagine an isolated woman sitting on a chair, rocking continuously. She's trying to look at those photographs. She's very excited, but because of improper light in the room, the bulb is also very dim. And this bulb is also like her faded impressions on her mind, which have made her memory obscure and not clear at all. Now her fingers moved back to the edge of the sheet and prepared to tear, come what might. There was a crackle, then a desperate ripping. Part of a photo was torn too, but there they were, 7 or 8 small sepia squares, little brown jewels. She closed the album quickly, trembling with relief. So we come to know that she is able to take out 7 or 8 photographs out of that album. The rocking chair had to be placed by the window several times that afternoon. She had pulled at it, but a curved leg was caught between the 2 trunks that jutted out from under her bed. Now she prepared to go the whole way. With deliberate slowness, she dragged her large metal spittoon to the wall. She prepared to bend to counter the faintness and nausea that come from bending. She bent and resignedly, without effort, pushed at a trunk. The chair was freed and she rested her head in her hands. So, students, you can come to know by listening to it that the room is overcrowded. She doesn't have even proper space to move on, to move around in the room. The chair is it is fitted. She's trying to take out the chair out of the trunk where the legs are I can say, they are jutted out from under her bed. And since she's an old woman, she bends and she tries to pull out the chair. And in bending, she's not feeling well. She feels little nauseatic. She feels little burdened. And then after great efforts, she was able to take out chair from the trunk, the leg of the trunk. It was not that she had never seen the photos before. They had, after all, always been there. But all at once they suddenly, without warning, had set her little dark room aflame. She was aflame, and in some underground way, this new flaming self joined her young self as if the intervening years had never existed. These are one of the, I can say, heart rendering sentences in the story. The writer says, the storyteller says, it's not that she has never seen the photograph, but it is an effort to once again go back and cherish those memories, just to enjoy that time, that blissful time of her life when she really enjoyed those moments. And these photographs are captures of those moments which were like a blessing and bliss to her. She was aflame, and when she was aflame, this was a way of connecting herself. It was a sort of connection from the present situation to the past situation. And once she got connected with the photographs, she forgets her present self and she thinks once again that she is again in that romantic era where she was given lot of love, affection, attention, everything. And for a moment, she feels that these intervening years never existed in her life. She always used to start with the one in the top left hand corner, trying to resist the temptation to glance rapidly at them all. Only when she had stayed long and still with it, allowed it to return as it wanted, allowed its memories to lap about her. Did she move on to the next? There it was, the little thing, loyal as a child. Without asking for reward, it lifted her up to a young self and a sister. They stood on the veranda, and not a hair had changed. Now, these lines also tell how loyal she had been to her memories, and she was really trying to cherish those memories, those moments which were, I can say, that which gave her utmost pleasure and happiness. And like a child, now the writer is using the word, she was loyal as a child without any, I can say, outward or without any force from inner, from the core of her heart. She was attached to it, and she wanted to review, refresh, and renew her memories. So, this is the way we read, and in my next part of the lecture, I will tell you how she looked back and how she reminiscences about her reputation, about her position, because she was collector's wife, and she very beautifully, she's trying to recall those surroundings, those natural surroundings where she was given a lot of attention. And now why she is, the question arises in the right, in the mind of a writer as well as reader also. Writer is doing it with the purpose to tell the contrast, that the present situation is absolutely different to the situation where she was treated, an important figure by others. So that is why she's trying to cherish and she's being very loyal. And for readers also, it is very important, because readers also, then they can compare and they can also understand the plight of her present situation, that at present she's not given any recognition, because the room where she's stuck up, it is also a very small room where she has no space of her own. So, but all the time she had no alternate, and in her isolation, in her loneliness, she can only play with those memories and enjoy. And for the time being, she forgets everything, and she thinks that she is, once again, she has gone back to that era where she was treated with respect by people, where her husband was posted because she was collector's wife. So in my next part of my lecture, I will tell you the more details, and I hope you enjoyed listening to it, and I'll come with the next part of my lecture. Bye bye. Thank you.